Alright, so in this video we're checking out another FPV monitor. This is the Eachine Mon-Eagle. It's a 5-inch FPV monitor. It's an 800 by 480 resolution screen. It's an IPS panel and very bright at 1000 nits. Pretty decent construction overall for the monitor. It's got a very big battery and it's pretty thick here. It's a 4000 milliamp hour battery here inside. I'll open it up here. I'll show you here in a second. Diversity receivers for the two antennas, and does have a built-in DVR. You can see here our micro SD cards up to 64 gigabytes. Charges via micro USB, and it has an input voltage range of 5 to 23 volts. And it does come with micro USB cable, of course, if you want to plug it into like a cell phone charger, a wall adapter. Also comes with a micro USB to XD60 adapter, so you can use, I think, batteries up to, I think they say 6S, but it says 23 volts here, so I'd say 5S to be safe. You get a AV in-out cable here. It goes right there for if you want to put video in or out. And it comes with this cell phone type mount here that's supposed to attach to backup transmitters, but I couldn't find any that would fit this. So this hole here is a little bit too large, all the way closed, so you may need to make some sort of an adapter. And this does go to the maximum width of this mount here, so the spring may break at some point. There's no tripod mount here on the bottom, so mounting this is kind of a challenge. There's a reset button on this side, brightness up and down here, and then you have your channel and band buttons here, record button for the DVR, and at the top here we've got search button for auto search and your power button here. Two of these whip antennas here, and the antennas are PSMA. I would recommend getting some third-party antennas for this. The reception on the included antennas is not so great. So it's come with a pretty nice manual, and here are all of the specs here if you want to take a look at more detailed specs. Alright, so let's go ahead and power it on. And I've got a video source here. This is the Runcam Micro Eagle. So let's just link this over to the box. Okay, so I just have it pointed at my messy workbench. You can see here it's got a very shiny, glossy screen. I did remove the screen protector that was on here. It was completely scratched up. So the image of what you were seeing was not only faded, but also very dirty because it had a lot of fingerprints all over it and had a lot of like dent marks. And I thought the screen was actually broken when I first saw it. So I peeled that off, and then it reveals this nice, shiny, super glossy screen. You may or may not like that. I personally am not a fan of super shiny screens like this. You get a lot of reflection, especially in sunlight. If you take this outdoors, it is fairly bright. You can see it, but you're going to need some sort of a sunshade or something. It's not included in the box. And let's just compare this to the screen. This is the Hawkeye Little Pilot 4, another 5-inch monitor. It's an LCD monitor, only 700 nits, but it's a matte screen, and same resolution, 800 by 480 and 5 inches. Obviously the color reproduction on the same image here, very different. So it's a cooler color on the Hawkeye, more bluish in tint. And then on the Eachine, it's a bit warmer and brighter. You can see it's not quite as bright on the Hawkeye, 700 nits versus 1000 nits, and this is an IPS panel versus an LCD panel. So, you know, it's a different look, but you can tell that it's very different here between the two different panels. Now, to access the menu and everything is fairly straightforward. You just short press the power button. If you long press it, it'll turn it off, of course. You're going to navigate basically the menus by short pressing the power button to go through each of the items. And then I think the band and channel is going to be for up and down for the values. So I'll just quickly show you that. So short press the power button, and then if you press press the power button shortly for each one, it'll bring you to each one of these different menu items. You can adjust the brightness and contrast here, these different values. I like it fairly bright, and then you can adjust this to pretty much whatever you want. This is not the stock settings, by the way. I didn't like the stock settings; they were a little bit too dark for me, so that's why I adjusted all the settings. One thing you want to do is you want to go over here and you want to format your SD card, which I did here. Put it in, go into the menu, format it, because the micro SD card that this thing likes is very picky. So you're going to use the class 10. I just formatted. When I use class 10 cards that were formatted in my PC, it didn't work at all. It would just like not record anything. You see a little red light saying it was recording, and then it would just nothing would appear on the card. So make sure you format the cards inside the monitor itself. You can see that the image is flickering in and out. I think that's the video transmitter I'm using. It's not the monitor. It's happening on this monitor as well. Alright, so I changed the battery on the VTX. Apparently that battery was low, and that's why it was cutting the power in and out on the video transmission. But let's go ahead and show you how to do a quick recording. Just short press the record button, and then you see a blinking red light there. Now this DVR in here is the same as the Eachine, I think the power DVR from like years ago. So you can switch it from like VGA mode to 720p mode in terms of the recording. And you're going to do that. I'm just going to stop the recording here. Red light should stop. You're going to change that setting by going to the menu. And you're going to go here to video mode. So HD is 720p. There's VGA, 640, and there's D1. So I just leave it on HD. And you can probably tell already that there is a OS there on the top. So it'll show. I just covered up here, so you can show that you can see the channel band and channel number there. The frequency shows you which antenna is currently tuned. It's RFA, and it shows your battery status there over on the right there. Okay, let's take a quick look inside. You just have to remove these 4 Phillips head screws. Pretty easy to get inside. So it's gonna, once you release those 4 screws, it's easy to pop the screen off here. It's got this little ribbon cable. You want to be careful about that. Get the big battery, 4,000 milliamp hours here. DVR. You got your 2 diversity receivers here. So you have one receiver here and another one here. So you guys are wondering if it's true diversity. It is. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple. Not a whole lot going on inside here. There's a speaker. Forgot to mention that. I had the volume shut off, so if you're one of those people that do like to listen to your quad and you have a microphone on your quad, you will get the audio in here once you pump the audio through and turn the volume up. I don't like to hear static, so most of my quads don't have, actually all of my quads don't have any microphones, so I don't use a speaker feature at all. But if you do, it's available on this monitor. So I think the last thing I do want to talk about is the reception quality of the receivers on this, and I would say it's pretty mediocre. I have a feeling that these antennas are fairly poor quality, so I would recommend, if you are going to want to use this for actual flying, I would recommend getting some third-party antennas. These are RPSMA antennas, so keep that in mind. Obviously something like circularly polarized and a patch antenna would work out pretty well. Now in terms of like the latency of this, I did kind of try and fly around inside like with a tiny whip. It was fine. I didn't really see or notice any latency or say like any standard FPV goggle out there, but again, flying through a monitor is tricky, and if you haven't done it before, it's not easy to do, and most people can't do it. It's fine for like airplanes and stuff like that, but for flying quads through a monitor, this is not really the ideal situation for that. So if you're just like, say, using this as a third party or secondary monitor to record video, and you want to get the best video possible, get some third party antennas on this. And I think they'll improve the reception. In like open areas, seemed fine. Not a whole lot of static, but like I'm showing you here now some video that is in some pretty tough areas with a lot of interference, a lot of bounced signals, that kind of thing. And this is not one of those like rapid fire type dual diversity receivers, so it does suffer from a lot of reflected signals and stuff in terms of signal loss. So you'll see a lot of static and flickering in the recordings. And also it's going to be very sensitive to how good the video transmitter is. So if you're using a very poor quality video transmitter, this monitor isn't going to perform that great. So overall, I would say the receivers on this are fairly average to, maybe slightly below average, especially if you're using the stock antennas. And I would recommend getting some upgraded third-party antennas if you intend to use it as a platform for recording flights, say like other people or your own flights, and you just want something like separate in terms of a DVR. Say if you have goggles that don't have a DVR, for example. So other than that, the screens seem fine. You're gonna probably have to get used to the colors and make some adjustments to suit your preferences. But lack of the tripod mount, for example, like on the Hawkeye, does make this a bit of a hassle to mount somewhere. You may need to create some sort of a third-party mount or 3D printer mount to get this to onto a tripod or something like that. But it just it stands up on its own. Like this, because it's got a flat bottom. So, but of course, it'll fall over if you tip it. Anyway, it's an okay monitor for the price. I think it's on promotion now for like $70 or something like that. But again, you will have to invest in some extra antennas if you plan on using this. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.